interesting remarks describing the agric minister and the trades minister as people who want his job. And especially I heard him speaking about Mr. Tremanti and said, that's what this one dear Charlie, he's been looking for this job for a long time. And it started a whole conversation. I heard Mr. Benefson saying that the president should fire those two people immediately because he knows that they are coming after his job. Similar to what President Kufuor did back then before the 2008 elections, where 17 people wanted a job and they all had to just chill and lose their portfolios. But the president says, I haven't endorsed anybody as my successor. He said he would, however, campaign vigorously for whoever won the party's presidential primary towards the presidential race for 2024. He spoke on Pure FM in Kumasi as part of his 4-day official visit to the Ashanti region. And it's interesting how he's talked about all the things that the MPP say they've done, but this is the big news that is Alan and the agri minister, and is it an endorsement? Is it not an endorsement? I'll start with Doc.
Well, thanks.
Was it just humor?
I want to talk about this, but I can't help but appreciate your pink ribbon for breast cancer awareness.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I just want to put a line in there that men also get breast cancer.
Yes.
So we are all at risk, and we should be also examining our Nokufio, breast fuel, we should be examining it in case there are any lumps in it. So that's my small two-liner because of my medical background. But I think, President Nana Addo Dankwa-Akufo-Addo was just so cool with it, with his shades on and nice suits and everything. And, it was a joke, but Charlie, he meant it, that he introduced all the various people on the entourage to demonstrate the number of Ashanti regional people or heritage who are part of his governance, so that Otumfuo would see that he's not left them out. And beyond that, he went further to do his thing, his regular thing, that a great minister is also looking to occupy his seat, and that, like you rightly said, trade minister has been at it for a long time, and I think it was a very let's say relaxing moment, and I was happy to see the president very relaxed. I mean, after many tours around, and there's one other thing that really hit me though, and I must commend Otumfuo. He reminded the president about the need to double check what his appointees were telling him, and I think that was remarkable. After all that the president said, and it's good for leadership to hear things like that in with regards to thinking and taking the words of your people, your appointees, as true and true. What the chief and one of the greatest of all chiefs reminded our president was that, President, you've said all these things and nice things, but be wary of the accounts given to you by your appointees. Go on the grounds and double check and verify what you are hearing. And I think that was also a very potent word of advice that the president got. And I also would commend our president for his stand. I mean, he's saying that he's not endorsing any particular candidate, and that he will support whoever the grassroots or the party presents as the 2024 nominee. And that is remarkable. And I think all of our members of parliament and leadership in the party will toe that same line and not get into the thick of it.
Mr. Kwanzaa, your brief reaction. Do you think others would have been shaking small by this kind of little president saying these things? Is he like kind of undercover pushing these people forward?
No, I mean, politically, if you listen to what he said with your political ear, you realize that he was rather throwing shades.
Okay.
I mean, the president have some humor in him. Sometimes he comes out, and like I saw it more like throwing shades. But you know, the fact that I am not endorsing any, I mean, that one they have to tell it to the blues. I mean, we know. I mean, you are a politician. You know the man was throwing a particular line. Who is he? You know the two that went to the Menchia, they were there. So, and you see, funny enough, he didn't say the same thing at Menchia. It wasn't Menchia that he made that statement. When he went to the next place, he made that statement that, look, I am not, because people started talking about maybe the way you were thinking, that by mentioning those two names as if he was backing any of them. So he had to quickly make a U-turn and say that, look, I am not endorsing anybody.
I've also heard that he's brought these names up there to kind of split that Ashanti vote, make it easy for Dr. Bawumia to.
No, you see, that is. No.
That's what I heard.
You see, in politics, you can't wish away conspiracy theories.
Okay.
You can never wish. Look, I was here and I told you that the reason why our naming of our MMDCs was taking that long was because, you see, the names came up. But now later on, the consultation that they said they were going to do is to now politically check those people. Are these guys in line with what the agenda that we're planning, or they belong to somewhere else? So they have to go back and check on the people. So in some areas, people know that, oh, Kafui is the one becoming our MC. Not by stroke of whatever, it changed on the day of nomination. You know, and they were whipping people in line. Look, this guy, doctor, is not a staunch Nana fan. You see, Nana fans are for Bawumia, and you know, the others are like for Alan.
You're making
Oh no, master, me, I've been in politics since the 70s. So if the game is going on, you sit back and you read the whole
So
game.
he's a player play a chess game.
Master game he's playing. Look, let me see. Okay, look, you know what? Because the election will depend on the MMDCs and the MPs. You see, the MPs, you can't push them that much because you are not the one that appointed them. So they can independently do their thing. But the people that I directly appoint. I can't. I mean, they have to whip them. So that is why
I don't think that is necessarily the case.
No, I'm coming. You see, because if you are telling me that you delayed because you were doing consultation, we shouldn't have had this kind of rejections. Go to East Gonja. East Gonja. Did you see what happened there?
It's not violence.
No, not even violence. When they voted, the president nominee got 4 and 30 against. I mean, so if you really went there to consult, definitely they would have done the work for you. Because if you consult the chiefs will talk to their various, their various assembly members to make sure they push your agenda.
So it's a chess game they go on.
Oh, I mean, that one there, it's normal now. My brother he would say it, but it's a game, and you know.
Did he win?
Who?
The person win the chess game?
It depends, you know, because whatever is coming up now is huge, you know, because the president have trust and love for his vice, and he would have loved, or he would love his vice to take over.
It's a perception.
No, master.
It's a perception.
Master, you see, you are saying it's perception. In politics, perception 70%, reality is 30%. Yeah, I hope you understand me. So let me perceive. But we are all in this game. And look, and we hear people talk. Some of the MPs, we talk to them. I was once an MP. I still have colleagues in there. We talk. And you know, at the end of the day, that is the agenda. Okay. You know, he can say I am not endorsing anybody. I mean, it happened. I mean, if you go to every political party, me, when I was leaving the scene as a member of parliament, I told my people that, hey, look, I'm leaving the seat clear. But behind the scene, maybe I know one or two things to do. I mean, that one there is politics, boss. You are sitting here right now. If you decide not to contest, you would like somebody to come and continue your legacy. Somebody who really buy into your vision and who will buy more into your vision than somebody that you've worked with for 8 years as a vice president. I mean, nobody will tell you that you will vouch for that person. Yeah,
but you make the right noises.
No, that one there is outside movement.
What do you think?
outside movement.
And outside movement. It's 556 10 34. What do you think? The president says, I have not endorsed anybody as my successor. And I also see comments from Bachia Jacko, and it's getting very interesting as we are building up to those primaries and then finally elections in 2024.
To be so beautiful.
And then I'm sure NDC2 will have their interesting things
definitely
pretty soon. But let's know your thoughts. Now, still on the Daily Graphic front page, this one is worrying. Pokwasi interchange burgled. I mean, newly installed crash barriers stolen, street lights removed. Barely 3 months after the inauguration of the Pokwasi interchange, some unscrupulous persons have stolen some of the newly installed galvanized crash barriers mounted at the interchange, thereby posing a threat to road users. So these stolen crash barriers valued at $3,500, you know, multiplied by 6, and you know what the Ghana cedi equivalent is. That's 21,000 really, meant to protect vehicles from falling over from a high embankment onto the main road for vehicles coming from Kwabena, cover a stretch of 40 meters. I speak less because our man is actually at Pokwasi this morning to give us a live report, keeping an eye on issues there. Alan, good morning.
All right, okay.
Yes.
All right, okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'm fine also. Alan, talk to us. I believe you're at Pokwasi right now.
If you can hear me, I can't hear Kafi.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes. We're waving to him. But we'll continue. So there are 10 crash barriers that have been stolen, each measuring 4 feet. So that's 40 feet of metal.
And that's 140 feet is 3,000.
So every crash barrier is 21,000 cedis times 10. 40 street lights on the stretch have also been damaged at the interchange. So the barriers were mounted on a high embankment to prevent vehicles using a service road from the Victoria College area at Pokwasi from falling over. Now the height that vehicles will fall is about 3 meters. That's about 10 feet. Okay, so these things have been taken away, and the nuts and bolts that were holding the barriers were welded to prevent easy removal, but they had been removed nonetheless. And the sad thing is that motorists using the road don't even know, they didn't realize the danger that these things that are meant to protect them have been taken away. Let's now get onto the camera and I'll speak with Alan. Alan, hi.
Still.
Hi, good morning, Kafui, and welcome to the Pokwasi interchange. For the benefit of those who know the interchange and don't know, I'm on the north end of the interchange, and so the north end will bring traffic in from parts of Achimota, turning right onto heading towards Kwabena, and also bring in traffic from parts of Ablekuma and rest of them again heading towards Kwabena, and this would then file out into the Hachos and parts of the Legon areas. Now, the interchange commissioned this year with all the pomp and pageantry has become a hotbed and a target for social deviants and miscreants. Why am I saying that? There are two things about the interchange that were specifically brought in to protect members of the public, in this case pedestrians, and also commuters who, for any reason, if they lose control of their vehicles, will not crash into pedestrians but will get the crash barrier or the guardrail to help secure themselves, as well as pedestrians who use the demarcated area for pedestrians on the interchange. Now, this is what is happening. The part of the interchange where I am has recently been burgled, and the sad bit of that is that this is specifically from where they are positioned. They are to protect homes that are close to the interchange, and also commuters if they should lose control of their vehicles. Now, if you can see to my immediate right, and I'm pointing at that rail, basically this should have this stand or this foundation or pillar, and that should be above, in front of it, have a barrier, and this barrier is a steel barrier. This will help protect both pedestrians and commuters from getting in one another's way. But these have recently been burgled, and this commissioned not too long ago. It would be absolutely unbelievable to think that someone would wake up one day and decide these are not necessary where they are, and so come and move them or remove them. In any case, if they removed them and they were going back to the urban roads or the highways depot for storage, that would be another thing to consider. Perhaps in future we can bring them back. But as I speak to you, whether or not they are in any storage, that's another thing to find out. And I spoke to some of the neighbors who live just in close proximity to this barrier, and they tell me they woke up one day and they were all gone. I asked, did you not hear anything? Did you not see anything? They will only tell you every now and then you will see these young men who push, what do you call them? The scrap collectors come around, move around, walk around. But as to whether they may be the culprit, they are unable to say. This is what the current situation is at the Pokuase interchange, the north end towards Kwabenya. The guardrail or the crash barriers brought in to protect both pedestrians and commuters, unfortunately, has become a target for thieves, and they are being stolen.
Thank you very much, Alan, for that report from Pokuase. So, yeah, guardrails stolen. Dr. Kisi, as a member of parliament, how do you feel when you hear these things?
You know, this is not just being member of parliament, but I'm also on the public accounts committee, and I don't know if I'm crying or weeping or laughing, but it's painful. This is how we lose money to the state, and I'm just going through my mind and through the mind of the perpetrators of this, and wondering, I mean, what would make you cause such havoc to our country? Look at this young girl who was actually walking by, and the fact that without that protection, anything
she could stumble and just fall.
Yeah, and it beats my mind. But human as we are, these things will happen. These things do happen, and I think it's unfortunate. But we need to be upping our maintenance and repair bit in terms of highways and roads, because that is another element that I think we have a problem with in our country. When cars knock down traffic lights, it takes forever for us to replace them, and I really would beg that this particular interchange should have an off-site repair and maintain close by, so that the Urban Road and Highways Authority will ensure that as soon as any of these things happen, they attend to it. And I think we better put some cameras sited there, so that some people will be observing 24 hours and will be ties whoever touches the next even bolt, not even a whole challenge. Serious. I mean, this is
40.
Yeah, Mr. Kwanzaa,
it's serious. It's serious.
How do you feel?
No, but it's bad. I mean, some stealing is not even nice. You know, some stealing, this kind of stealing.
Which one? Which one?
No,
is
you see,
stealing
you
is nice?
see,
nice, but
yeah,
Which one? Which one is
you
nice
see,
stealing?
no, you see, when they say, you know, sometimes you don't understand why people, you know, you steal things that would endanger maybe you yourself, your own life.
Of course.
I mean, you don't do that.
In the process of stealing, you can even die.
You can even die. And you see, your reporter was saying that the people were talking about these boys who.
Scrap dealers.
No, this is a work of a Kia Bongo. A Kia Bongo will be packed and they will load these things. Not that small thing that they. You know the span is
This is long.
yes, long. Yeah. So you can carry about 2 of them without being noticed. So a Kia can park there and they will load it and the Kia will drive off. And you see, most of the time these guys, they wear reflectors, they wear dresses like they are from highways. Okay. Some of them even have pickups that they pack with a highway sticker on it. They will tell you that the thing is not well aligned, so they are going to align them and bring them
So we
back.
need to up our intelligence game.
Our intelligence game. Okay. I mean, because you see, like Doc spoke about the cameras. You know, for some time now, I mean, we've caught a lot of things on camera. Yeah. I mean, things that maybe first we wouldn't have known about. But now at least some robbery happened, then you see camera. Yeah. Oh, the camera on the street caught this. Yeah. Especially on that road. You know, and that is a very dangerous road. Without the
guardrail.
The guardrail, yes. It's very. If you know the place,
yeah, I know the place.
You know,
yeah.
And I think you bother them, right?
Yeah.
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 So, and that those I believe highways should, you know, they did the thing in such a way that people might not be able to easily take them.
Yeah, because of
yeah, but I mean, and they stole alongside street lights.
Yeah, yeah.
The street lights were not spoiled too.
No, it's part of the operation.
It's part of the operation.
Yeah.
And so it's a pure highway job.
Yeah. So intelligence, monitoring, cameras, that needs to be done. What do you think about this? And the sad thing is that people said, hey, we should watch to make sure that these things don't happen, and it's happened. What are your thoughts? 055-556-1034. Today's World Teachers Day, and it's a day that is set aside worldwide to recognize the contribution of people who take care of the minds and the brains of the future generation. The theme this year is Teachers at the Heart of Education Recovery, obviously linked to COVID and bouncing back. On the line to join us for a conversation on World Teachers Day is a teacher, a trainer of teachers, an educationist, a columnist, an author, and the CEO and founder of GATE Institute, Mr. Anis Hafa. If you read the daily graphic, you see his column, weekly column, Education Matters, and he's on the line to speak to us on this day as we celebrate World Teachers Day. Mr. Hafa, good morning, happy World Teachers Day to you. Okay, so we're going to see if I can get through to Mr. Anis Hafa, and so he's going to be talking to us about teachers and what's it like to be a teacher these days, especially since we've come out of this pandemic. And you know, teachers were really hit hard last year. They had to all of a sudden become very proficient with online tools and IT. For those of you teachers who were not very friendly with computers, all of a sudden you have to now jump into the whole business of doing your education using the technology available because of the pandemic. And we read from time to time about issues of teachers and remuneration and allowances. And so what's it like to be a teacher in these times, and how can they contribute to the recovery as far as education is concerned? I'm going to see what I can get Mr. Anis Hafa right on the line again once more. Mr. Hafa, good morning. Welcome to the show. Can you hear me? We're trying to get him on the line. I'm sure we'll try. Hello? I'll read a couple of messages and then I'll get back to the line to see where he is. I think whoever stole those rails and lights wanted to take them to fix their own community and protect their road and highway. It is not justifiable, sir. Or madam, maybe that's why you didn't put your name on the message. Good morning, nice program. I just watched a live video of the highway interchange. Please, a lady just crossed with her daughter. Is there no bridge from the other end to prevent people from crossing on foot? There are bridges, but people just decide to take the shortcut. Yes, let's see. There's more messages. This is deals with the president, and he's saying he hasn't endorsed anybody as a successor. This is Mohammed Shafiu Hussein from Kaswa. We all know who will succeed President Akufo-Addo, as majority leaders has already said. Well, we'll talk about that later. Let me get on the line now and speak with Mr. Hafa Anis Hafa, CEO founder of Gate Institute, a trainer of teachers and columnist, author. And good morning, happy Teachers' Day to you, sir. It's quiet.
Audio.
I cannot hear him, so I'm going to go back to my messages. Let's see, more messages. This is from, let's see, 0555561034. I was, so WhatsApp and everything went down, Facebook, Instagram went down. How did you respond? Good morning. I was having rehearsals at church, so I didn't really feel the impact as some people did. But I was really expecting some messages, though. Big ups to all teachers. Talking of teachers, let's see whether we can get Mr. Anis Hafa on the line once more. Good morning and welcome to the show. Our lines are on a break. Can you hear me? Lines are all messed up. We'll try again. We don't give up that easily. 0555561034. Ghana tries to follow the USA political system, and Nana failing to endorse the vice president is a cowardly move on his part. He knows he doesn't have the will to lead. Hey, you want the president to endorse the vice president immediately? They haven't gone for primaries yet. 0555561034. More messages from you. Let me read a couple on Twitter. So I asked the question, which subject teacher did you fear the most in school? And French seems to be the one that is really coming up very high on the list of feared teachers. So here comes the poll. I put a poll up there, and so far French is in a commanding lead. So the question basically was this, that which teacher did you dread the most and why? 487 votes, 56% went to French, 34% went to maths, 11% went to science. And these are some of the responses that you gave us on World Teachers Day. I never liked the French guy. I never liked him. Dictation before every lesson, I just hated him for no reason. That was, you can't hate your teachers like that. Opinion chum. Okay. And then, conjugation got us caned, you know, je vais, tu vas, il va, tu vas, you know, whip you like that just for conjugating. French, even if you pronounce the word correctly, he'll shout at you for twisting your mouth. Je vais. S'il vous plaît. You teachers, what I do. That man can later, if you don't pronounce the thing well, he'll come and see beatings. I just hated it for no reason. French teachers, you have to up your image, because I don't think people really like you. And the hate is deep. 20-30 years after school, you know. it's just crazy. French, she used to call us deaf and dumb. Oh, French teachers. Oh, no wonder the people are not speaking French. Oh. They say Ghana is surrounded by francophone countries, but when they're teaching the French, it's not happening. Oh. You can't call your teachers, your students deaf and dumb. It's not going to work, you know. More messages. I can't seem to get through to Mr. Hafa, so we probably will need to move ahead, do some other stories. If we can get through to him, it will be great. Okay. Ghanaian Times, let's look at
page 21.
Let's see. He's trying to set the agenda for me there. You're there, right?
I'm in there.
Page 21?
I think so.
I see. Okay. You tell me what it's all about. I'll look for it, and then I'll look for it for you. More MMDCE nominees endorsed. That's page 15, page 18. So while some are being rejected, others are also being endorsed. So it's a mixed picture, really. Yeah. And I've heard it said, Doc, that if we were just to have a system where MMDCs were voted for, this whole drama, people being beaten. Yesterday, I listened to Star FM, and some guy was slapped 50 times. You know, and they asked him,
and he's talking.
You know, they asked. He said he couldn't even hear well because he was surprised. They asked him whether he was the one who was doing the counting. He said no, somebody was counting for him 32 times because he made a wrong declaration.
Then maybe he lost count.
I don't even know.
Because, I
To
mean,
stand for
32 slaps. Yeah, he was quite insistent on that number. So why is this happening? Why is this happening?
The tensions are quite high, but it proves one point. Our president wanted us to do these elections not too long ago, and he was trying to do everything possible in his first time to allow voters to have the right to choose who their MMDCs will be. However, the times are not ready for that in terms of the stakeholders and people who still think that power should rest in the presidency. And I think that...
Did the opposition frustrate his attempts to do that?
In fact, I have to be honest, it wasn't just opposition. Even people within the ruling party were also not necessarily fully for it because of political and selfish reasons, let me put it that way. But I think the president has been very clear and repeatedly said that is what will be good for our democracy. And to, as it is, once again empower the citizenry. And I think it would also be the best check for MMDCs, because if you're not performing, people will vote you out. And they have that then need to perform. As it stands, most of the MMDCs literally may play the tune of the appointees who deceive the president, in the sense that the reports they give the president may be rosy, and then what's happening on the ground is so poor and would be in power for 4 years.
Do you think the time will come where MMDCs will be voted for in Ghana?
That time will happen. I mean, we've started the process, and there's been one referendum of some sort, which didn't work out. And I think another attempt, politics is like that. Once you have to keep trying. Who knows, maybe in 20 years it might happen, I don't know. But I think the journey has begun, and some of these frustrations that we are appreciating now in the country in terms of the delay that we had this year, in terms of even the challenges associated with this selection, which was well thought out, given apt consideration by all the various stakeholders. Granted, he alluded to something here on this show, which I don't know, might have some credence too, in terms of whipping people in line in a certain direction, which still isn't obvious to me. But these are things that I think would help. And what I really love about it, and let me say this here, you'd have possibly MPP in power, but if the community loves an NDC man,
he becomes the mayor, or
he becomes the MMDC, and then
you're opening up the system.
That is what we were asking.
So why do you
But they wanted it to be done on partisan line. You are MPP guy, NDC person will present their candidates, and we were looking at what about those who are not either MPP or NDC. So we give an equal opportunity to everyone. No political party should sponsor any candidate. Let the people go in there and vote and decide, look, I am a citizen of, let's say, Ekunfi. I want to be the MC or DC of Ekunfi. I don't belong to NDC. I don't belong to
But I want to serve.
But I want to serve. So you go in there. So there is nothing like, it becomes free for all. Let's vote like the way we vote for MPs. Let's go there and vote for
election.
So let's vote. That is what the NDC then we were pushing for. But the bill that came, or what they sent
preliminary.
No, it wasn't. It was something they bought for us to go and vote on.
What I'm trying to say is that this is the first attempt.
No, I understand you. And that is where
will happen.
And boss, and that is where we need to forget about our partisan stance and look at moving the nation forward. Look, when we came up, everybody, we agreed that we want MMDCs. to be elected. Yeah. It was both sides of the house.
Agreement.
Yeah, but getting to the end till whatever came out to be referred on, like we have to go.
It didn't resemble what you.
No. Now we say the thing should be political. I say, oh no, if political, then we are defeating that.
So hopefully it will come back again.
No, this thing should come back. Me, I believe that if you look at CDD's report, you see 76% of Ghanaians want MMDC
to be voted
for, and out of the 71% wanted it to be done on non-partisan lines.
So let's see how that plays out in the future, because we don't want anybody to die because of.
No, I want to. MMDC I was coming to the way they were beating the people at the assemblies.
And the presiding member gets beaten.
No, you see that is why I don't believe there were proper consultations. The consultations that went on became more like trying to align.
But I want to be consultation.
No. That one is not consult. You see,
what is that one?
If you look at the act, is it 369? The Local Government Act.
Yeah.
It tells you the kind of people you should consult with. Okay. It's the chiefs and the people. Look, the chiefs. Every chief can put his assemblyman in line.
So the chiefs should be consulted and don't make it less political.
The chiefs will just say, assembly is to the same. So let's move.
All right. Okay. No, I get your point on that. And I'm sure there's a lot of interaction on WhatsApp, and I'll be reading those comments pretty soon. 055-556-1034. But before I do that, let me just go to the other side of the room where Val is standing by. I voted for her to do the next segment. No consultations. Go ahead.
Right, we are still watching GTV Breakfast. We are keeping an eye and rushing out. This time we are going to Atadeka Junction. We are we're going to be connecting to my colleague Jay, who's going to give us traffic updates and what's happening in that area. So if Jay, you can hear me, you're live and piping hot. Yes, Jay. What can you report?
Okay, thank you so much, Valerie. So, good morning, everyone. It's still hashtag GTV Breakfast. Welcome to Keep an Eye. So this morning, I'm reporting from Atadeka here in the Pon-Katamanso district in the Greater Accra region, and I'm here to highlight the plight of residents who are complaining severally for their gutter and their drain to be fixed for a while now. Apparently, there was a road construction that was taking place between Atadeka to connect Atadeka to New York here, and because of that, the contractor took some stones from a bridge and came to dump them at this side. And so what happens is when it rains here, it floods terribly. And so residents have been complaining, and then they have been losing their properties. And before it gets to a critical point where they may perhaps lose their life, they are pleading with the authorities to come to their aid as soon as possible. There is also the situation of erosion eating away at the unders of the bridge that they have. And this side also serves as a great alternative route for road users who are using the main road. So if in case there's traffic, they prefer to use this side to avoid the traffic altogether. So I've gathered with me a few of the residents here who are willing to speak to camera and appeal to the authorities to come to their aid as soon as possible. Good morning and welcome. Good morning. Please say your name.
My name is Mahala Salis. I'm Imam of this area.
Okay. So sir, I understand the troubles you are facing here. So what would you like to tell us?
Okay, please, I would like to speak to you.
Okay, go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد michia etiefo ana dia omohwe munyina ansana midasida ma GBC TV GTV.
Thank you so much. So we like 2 minutes if you can just wrap up here.
Okay, adia here wa ha ye bridge asam ya ka sa ya bre since almost 6 years and 7 years ya nanti parko assembly up to now munya hwe amaye hwe send e kwan so aye nkwala ko school ye nyina ye bre nsuo to a efia nyina na nsuo na afi akọ edem no ya bre sa nti ye se mummomode na munso na munye ye atadeka anaze no atadeka ade ye ti Ghana mu ana ye nye Ghanaians ana bibia yetia tax yetia property rate yetia na ade mu sorry mboaye nti se mmomode na mu sorry mbe me imam area hanyina Zenu chief imam ansana me deputy of Bonkatamanso municipal chief imam nti me da sawa atumeni mmomode na mboaye.
Thank you so much. I have another gentleman here who also speak about the situation. Good morning. Sir, please say your name.
My name is Daniel Ofoitete.
Okay, what would you also like to tell us?
Yeah, I want to inform you people about the situation that we are facing in this community. We are facing a very terrible situation in this community. Our roads and our everything in this community seems to not to be working. Even our street light and everything. But we are suffering bitterly in this community.
I can see that the electricity pole is also entering there.
Because you can see the electricity pole, the water has washed the ditch. So very soon the pole will come down. And when this pole comes down, it is going to turn a different thing altogether. Because we are facing a big problem. You can see the bridge. The bridge did not supposed to be a culvert. It's supposed to be a box bridge. So that when the rain fall, the water can get this thing to flow. So, but because of the culvert, when the rain fall, you can see that something will come and choke the distance. So the water cannot get access to flow. Then it enters people's house and the distance. You can see my dad here. This old man was a pension man. He went to pension and he collected the pension pay and he built this house. When rain fall, the man cannot stay in the house. And there were so many flooding for this area.
Has there been any casualty as a result? Like, have there any lives been lost as a result of the floods that happened?
I think yes, because when things happen like this, not more people used to come around, and no single person that not more can confirm as we are speaking today that something happened to somebody here and they came to our aid and they give somebody even a CD or 2 CD to do something for this area. If you can see the street light that we are using for this, we contributed the money as a community and we buy this street light. We are suffering, and we are part of the country, and we pay so many things that as a citizen in this country supposed to pay. So we beg the government, we are begging the government to come into our aid. My brother, you can see when rain fall, children cannot go school. This road, when something happen, when the main road has choked, this is the road that they used to pass.
Yeah, I can tell how passionate you are about everything. So at this point, I'd just like you to, in just 30 seconds, just plead with the assembly and whichever authorities you would like them to come and help you with this situation. Briefly.
Okay, we are pleading to the government to come into our aid. We think that before the government will come into our aid, it will pass through the assembly, and the assembly we went there so many times with our letters and
what do you say? What did they say when you go to the assembly? What does the assembly?
When we went there and we present our district to them, they will say they will come to our aid, so we should go. And we have tried our possible best as a community for the assembly to come our aid, but they are not coming. They are not coming. So we are pleading to them today as we are speaking to GTV. We know that through GTV they will see our destiny and will come to our aid.
Thank you so much. So I'll just speak to one last person who is also being here. These are residents who are complaining about how devastating the bridge is becoming for them. So I'll just speak to one last person. Daddy here. So briefly we'll get his comments and then we can go. Daddy, good morning and welcome.
We in Zenu community now, we are now like Israelites suffering as in Egypt and Pharaoh. We don't know what problem we did before they're treating us like that. This bridge, look at it. The first time they made it, it's very shallow, very small like this, so that the water, when it comes, when it's full, then it ran down to my house. You see,
this is
my house. It ran, then entered the road. Look at how I raised the entrance.
Is that why you have elevated it like that? Okay.
So I don't know. You see, if in case they made it very wide, the water will not go into my house. It will go straight into the gutter. Now look at this bridge. When it choked and the water comes, then it will go over it. The water flows over it back to this house, and then some branches here, some passes here, through here, because of the gutters they made there. All the water from the area they mentioned to you, they come to pass there. Then they come and dump some branches.
So thank you very much.
So now begging the municipal assembly to come and help us.
Help you. Okay. So thank you very much. You can tell the residents here are quite passionate about how the stones here have been put here. Apparently, the engineer just came to dump them here without any. And it's like that's his bathroom and everything. So the situation is quite desperate for them. So they are pleading with the authorities, the local assembly, urban roads, whichever body is in charge, to come here and fix this situation for them as soon as possible. So these are reporting with these presidents from the Atadeka era here in the Katamanso district on Keep an Eye. Back to you, Val, in the studios.
Right, thank you, Jay. And so we saw disturbing images of what that place in Atadeka looks like. So to the authorities that they are listening and they are watching, so hey guys, do the needful. These are Ghanaians. I mean, if we ask people to, if we open the phone lines now, we ask people to send in comments and conversations about where they live, the drainage system, it's going to be mad up. And so it's still GTV Live. We are live on all our social media handles. I'm handing over to Kaf and his gentlemen. They're still discussing what's trending in the headlines. Over to you, Kaf.
Thank you very much, Valerie. Yesterday's chaos was sponsored by Facebook. This chaos at Tadeka, I'm just wondering what is it? Is it structural problems? Is it neglect? Is it lack of maintenance? Is it building in the wrong place? I mean, what is the problem?
Lack of planning. Lack of planning. You see, I was telling you a story. I went to Angola. It says, I mean, like a slum like this, and a particular guy was voted as the mayor of that area. You know, the guy told everybody to go back to his village, because that is a city, like it's a slum in the city. And he said, like, we had maybe Sodom and Gomorrah. Everybody, look, I know you are from the north. I'm giving you this money. Go back to your. We'll give you preference when. And they did the layout.
You got the people out, and
they got the people, and they did a new layout with the drains, covered drains. Demarcated the land. Here is Emma for school, so nobody builds there. Yeah, I mean, so the last time I went there, it was like, wow. I mean, you see, so it's about planning.
Did the people come back?
Yeah, not all of them. Okay. I mean, some of them were even giving some small money, and they started farming, doing other things in their village. So they decided not to even to come back, because when they come back, it's going to be like, how much are you going to buy that land for now? Because the premium is gone, the value is gone up. And if you look at a town like Kigali, when Kigali was destroyed, I mean during the war, Rwanda, when Kigali was destroyed, what happened? You know, they did the same thing. Nobody was in Kigali. They built Kigali. You won't walk in Kigali and see any electricity cable in the sky.
Dangling.
No, not even dangling. Everything was buried. And all the electrical cables that were buried came with a fiber optic. That is why their internet is something else. You see, so we need to plan, especially because this Atadeka, it's a new area developing. It's not like an old city like you go to
Jamestown.
No, Jamestown is even planned. Look at Jamestown. Jamestown is planned though. Jamestown, if you go to Jamestown, you are driving, you know this is one way. You turn here, you know there's a road here. The gutters are there, they all go into the sea or whatever. But I'm talking about places, the old places like Chemwena, Mamponse. Those places, you can't seriously go and say that, let me move people and develop. But the new areas that are developed.
So you mean there's time for that Atadeka to be fixed?
Yes, I mean because it's not like
an established old section.
Yes, okay. It can be done. So the assembly should be up and doing. Look, why do we engage our planning officers in the districts, in the municipalities? Why do we engage them? We engage them because theirs is to plan the district.
So planning before development.
Definitely. Look, that is why Tema will still be Tema.
Yeah, it was just planned.
Whatever you do, Tema will still be Tema.
Dr. Kisi,
my Tema.
Our Tema.
It's a painful thing.
Yeah, you were saying works and housing.
Works and housing has to come in.
What's the committee now?
I'm not in that committee, but Honorable Asensu Bachi, that's his, baby now.
This clip will be up soon, in about an hour or two. To be up on Facebook.
I think it should be up on Facebook, and then I also do my best to bring it up to the people that matter.
Sure.
But this issue is not peculiar to just Atadeka, and that is where my concern is, because a lot of monies have gone into construction of something that was inadequate. I mean, I see the size of the drains there, and I think those are not appropriate sizes. And as somebody rightly said, it's one covered, but this is not a one covered project, and that's why it gets filled, and then it spills around it. And I really think that it's unfortunate that money has been lost, because that is a very inappropriate structure, and cement, iron rods, and all these things that have gone in.
And the poor pensioner who built up his house, and now you have this wahala.
Is so sad. And I really think that it's about time we do things right. And this one, you can't blame the president for this.
No, it's on the ground.
These are issues on the ground. And the engineers responsible for the municipal are to do the right thing. And then also the municipal chief executive, because sometimes the engineers might propose the appropriate thing, and then the chief executive might say, Charlie, we don't have funds for it. But if you don't have funds, don't do a bad investment.
Indeed.
This is a totally erroneous investment.
And dangerous.
And costly to the state.
Indeed.
And I really, I'm not happy, and I think at least as we've brought this to front and center stage, it should be attended to, it should be addressed, and it shouldn't happen in other jurisdictions.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I just received a message from an assemblyman from that area, not particularly Atadeka, but from the Bunkatamansu area. He said that place was earmarked to be done, but it was to come from Common Fund.
Okay.
But since the last fourth quarter, Common Fund is not being, so the contractor is not moving to site. I mean, just to expand the culverts and also do some embankments, in the drains. And
so it means the flow of money has improved.
Yeah, I mean they've not received Common Fund.
Yeah, they can't do action.
When is the Common Fund coming?
Well,
from last quarter.
It do come yet.
And we are in the last quarter of last quarter. We're in the last quarter. We are in October.
Yeah.
The beginning of the last quarter.
So issues of Common Fund are critical. Money has to flow for things to be done. Time is also flowing, and so I would have to say, I wish I could continue, but would have to end it here. So Aquinas Kwanzaa is currently a farmer.
Yeah, and I've seen my partner in crime.
Yes, indeed. And I will tell you about his partner in a short while. Dr. Dixon Adomaku Kisi is MP for Anyasu Twom, and the partner in crime that Mr. Kwanzaa is referring to is none other than the first deputy Speaker of Parliament, who he entered into Parliament with in the same year. Strong guy. Yeah. And Thelma will be having a conversation with him in a short while. They can't have two vandals on the same set at one time. It will be too explosive. So Thelma will be doing that with him pretty soon. Just to let you know, a couple of headlines just for you to go get the papers. Reject unconstitutional anti-LGBTQI plus bill. Coalition of Concerned Citizens. Struggling new plan to be absorbed into 1D1F initiative, says the president. Boss not accounting for usage of over 100 million cedis that accrues from margins annually. And then there are 54,756 gays, bisexuals, and others living in Ghana. 18.1% are HIV positive, and anti-LGBTQI law will worsen it. It's the front page of today's Finder. The graphic has Ghana gas shutting down for maintenance. Power supply will not be affected. 13 perish in Ohini in Kwanta road accident. Over 100,000 companies will be delisted. Group kicks against LGBTQ bill. And the Ghanaian Times, intensify fight against illegal mining, says Yana. Takrady, pregnant woman satisfies bail condition. Back page, work on air traffic management center, 92% complete. And those are some of the headlines. Just to let you know, this show is brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water. You buy a bottle and 1 peso out of it goes to the National Cardiothoracic Center to help people who need that help. It's also brought to you by Shield Acrylic Paint, Adonco Next Level Energy, and as well as My Bet Africa, the home of betting. Yesterday we launched a new telenovela on the on Lifestyle Channel, and we have 2 questions that we're going to ask you for you to win some wonderful t-shirts. I'll show you the t-shirts. They're beautiful. So 2 questions. The first question is, who hosted the premiere of the show yesterday on Lifestyle TV? What's her name? And she'll be doing the chat room on Saturdays at 4 p.m. What's her name? So we need the name. And the second, what is the name of Mona's cock? Answer to 055-556-1034. My name is Kafui. We'll be right back with more. Stay tuned. This is GTV Breakfast. I hope you enjoy your morning.
Live from GBC Studio 1. This is the Breakfast Show. Live from GBC Studio 1. This is the Breakfast Show.
And they call me UJ. Hisense showrooms are what Ghana you know. Hisense everyday prices for everyday people.
From the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Thanks for staying with us, and we've been joined on the table by a very honored guest for this part of the discussions that we've had at breakfast today, and he is going to tell us about his life. I've mentioned that we are in Parliament. It feels like there's a parliamentary session already going on here in the studio, and we'll talk to this man and find out what his life has been about. You may not believe it, but I have a few details about him that I will share with you. He used to be a trotro mate, so his mommy owned the truck, and he used to be a mate in that truck, and he worked his way through from the basics, and he got himself a good education, and now he holds a prestigious position in society. And people may look at him and think, well, this man may not have suffered a day in his life, but that is not his story. In fact, we are told that he met his wife in a church. So for all my church guys and girls out there, I mean, you never know, the possibilities are endless, and indeed God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. So let's keep hope alive. He has worked as a lawyer for 29 years in Ghana after being called to the bar in 1990. Started his career in the chambers of Yalberima and Co., and later joined George Sapon Legal Services, where he rose to become assistant head of chambers. He later became chief executive officer, that's CEO of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, a political appointment he got during the tenure of former President John Ejekum Kufuor. He later became an MP in 2009 after being elected with 86.06% of the votes cast, and that was from the people of the Kwai. So 86%, quite a significant number. So he's obviously very popular with the people, and we'll find out why. And more recently, he has been elected first Deputy Speaker of Parliament of the Fourth Republic and re-elected to that position for the 8th Parliament. And as I'm sure you've guessed, and I've already told you from the beginning, we've been joined at the table by the very, very honorable Joseph Osei Owusu. We say Joseph Osei Owusu, first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Good morning, honorable. Welcome.
Good morning.
How was the drive from Nigeria this morning?
Well, the traffic is heavy, so the patience you require to be able to endure quietly.
And the fact that you didn't have to be a trotro mate to get here this morning, I'm sure that feels good.
Well, does it feel good? I enjoyed that work. You met all kinds of people. You get to understand really how drivers.
What kind of business was your mom's truck doing?
Well, it wasn't my mom, but my dad. My father had always been a transporter. He was a timber man, timber contractor. When timber business was no longer lucrative, converted the timber truck into what we call a tonchini today. A mommy truck, and we're applying the Kwai Obase, the Kwai Kumase, the Kwai Manso. You know, I had then finished sixth form, and the universities had been closed down in 1983. So said, if you are home, why don't you join them? And I enjoyed it. That's where I learned to drive. And I observed a lot of things which later became very useful in my work as the DVLA chief executive, because I understood the mindset and the things that drivers are thinking.
And I bet it also brought you in real life contact with people in general.
Yes.
So it also may have fed into your aspirations to stand for MP of the Kwai.
I became the toast of the traders. The Kwai is the first point of call for the peculiar kind of fish that is harvested in the Lake Bosomtwe. You get it only from that lake. And straight from the lake, their first stop is Bekwai before it transported to Kumasi and others. So many of the women in Bekwai traded in that fish, and we became the major carrier
Yeah.
So I traded with them along the route and made friends with many of them. Became a toast, the helper, because in the evenings we were arranged to make sure that they close and bring them. In the mornings, we make sure we take them and their loads to the various locations. Sometimes we know that this person is not yet ready, so we wait for her. These two people have not come. We'll wait for her. We became part of their family.
And that's how you warmed your way into the hearts of the people who voted massively for you to be their representative in Parliament.
Yes, that's one of the reasons. Indeed, at the time I contested independence, I was amazed at the volume of support I got from people I'd greeted all the time, but I never knew they had taken so much into me. I was surprised. My mother said, how did you get so much popular? She was amazed about the volume of support even pouring to her. How an elderly woman, Mamisa, organized the market women to support me massively. The kinds of things they said about me, some of the deeds you have done many years ago, you've forgotten yourself. But then they were repeating it, pointing out to how you supported this person or that. But not just from being a driver's mate, but when I became a lawyer, 2 years or 3 years after I was called to the bar, my father died. So I was practicing in Kofodia. I moved to the choir to be around my mother, to be her pillar. And during that period, I was doing a lot of cases pro bono, free legal services, all of that. And then in our system, if you're a little generous, people wake you up in the morning. So that also became part of
with
my
long
life.
kids,
Yes,
most likely.
Right.
You're working in Parliament. What has that been like for you? Has that been a radical shift from what you would have been doing if you weren't an MP, if you weren't First Deputy Speaker?
First Deputy Speaker has changed. If you recall, I used to do a lot of radio programs representing my party, going around various radio TV stations. But since I became a speaker, I had to stop. I had to stop being partisan.
Because you have to toe a more neutral line?
That's right. That's exactly.
You think you've done that creditably?
I believe strongly that I've done very creditably in that respect. Because it comes with, you behave like a judge. And if you're a judge, your strongest point is to listen, both sides, and make a ruling. That is exactly my call as a Deputy Speaker.
The Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Abambakben, he calls himself number 3. Can I call you number 3.1?
That's a new one I've heard. You can call me an assistant to number 3.
So number 3 assist?
Maybe.
Okay, how have you found relations with him? What's working with him like for you?
It's a continuation of what we've been. You know, he was a majority leader at the time I entered Parliament, and we had a good relationship working with the leaders. And then when I became First Deputy Speaker in the 7th Parliament, he was also the 2nd Deputy Speaker. So we worked very well, very closely. And so there's really nothing new.
So the election didn't come as a surprise to you?
He winning over Professor Makuku surprised me.
Okay.
But that he became a speaker doesn't surprise me, because he's very much experienced. He has been a 2nd Deputy Speaker, he's been a majority leader, he's been a minority leader. And when you're talking about Parliament of Ghana, between him and the majority leader, they know everything. They are the institutional memory. Whenever there are issues, the two of them can recall what had happened in the past. What is the history? Why did we get here? Why did Parliament choose to do A or B instead of Y in the past? So, to me, it's not surprising that he became the nominee of the minority when they chose to put up a candidate.
But it was surprising to you that he actually got the numbers?
Yes, I was surprised that he beat the sitting speaker, then Professor Makuku.
But then I would ask why, because you've just touted his virtues in your words, if I can ramp them up in that one word. So if you're confident that he can do the job, Why are you confident that why are you not as confident that he could have pulled those numbers? I'm asking because I want to build up to the things that we saw.
No, the real thing is about, at that election, it was supposed to be truly partisan, right? And my party, we were called majority because had one advantage. The minority had opted to sit with us. And indeed on that day, the independent had opted to sit with us. And indeed on that day, he was sitting with us. Plus him, we were 38. So I was expecting that any one of us would not vote for the candidacy that the majority put across. That's where the surprise comes from.
So then it suggests that somebody from the other side, from your side,
may not have voted for
your party's candidate, which was Professor Michael Quay.
Yes.
In this case, do you regret any of the things that the world witnessed that fateful dawn of January 7, when we saw people that we respect, people that we rightly call honorable, acting in ways that begged the question of whether they deserved that title?
Indeed, the whole of Parliament has expressed their regret. Things that have never happened in our house, things that we've never witnessed. I don't think that giving a second chance, members of this Parliament will behave the same way we did the other time. It was needless aggression against one another. We have never had that situation in our Parliament, and it was most regrettable.
And we saw for the very first time the presence of the military on the floor of Parliament.
Yes.
And it sent shockwaves among some sections of the public who thought this is almost like a coup, because this is a People's Representative House. These are the Ghanaian people in that room, and they are more or less under military siege.
No, on the contrary. It is because security had lost control. Parliament's own security had lost control of the situation. It could no longer control the behavior of members, the order that was needed for the clerk to supervise the election.
So the majority leader did not have control. At that time, even majority or minority was up in the air, because no one side wanted to admit that they were minority. Everybody claimed to that majority title. So obviously the whips did not have any control over the people.
The whips had not even been elected. Members had not been sworn in.
So all these positions elect created some kind of a vacuum, which there was no direction, there was no clear central point where an order could come from.
No, the Parliament's order is always in the Marshal. Marshal is the head of security.
So the Marshal summoned the military to the chamber?
Most likely, because he was the only person who has the power to. So the clerk was in charge at that point. There was no speaker elected. Members are not being sworn in. Right. So in the past, from what I've witnessed, this was my 4th term as a member. We have had singing, enjoying, congratulating one another, but we have never had such behavior from members on the floor, and it became impracticable to proceed with proceedings, so what happened was regrettable. I believe strongly it may not happen again, and Parliament has in many ways expressed regret for the conduct of the members-elect of Parliament.
Is it very different then from your many years experience in Parliament to have a majority party that does not have as much numbers as they have had in the past, and has it affected business in any way, do you think?
Whether we like it or not, majority in our Parliament, we don't have opposition. I was in the Parliament of Burkina Faso a week ago, and when they described the team I traveled with, they called out First Deputy Speaker, Deputy Minority Whip. There was uproar in the House. Then the Speaker explained that there's a struggle for them to call the opposition leaders minority and majority. And so subsequently they asked me to explain why we don't call ours opposition, but we call them minority. And I explained that we believe that we're doing the same thing. And our system is one of alternative government. So if you have majority today, it doesn't mean that you necessarily oppose everything. You have alternative views to what those who have minority hold. So numbers really determine whether you are a minority or majority. At the time, at the close of the election, 137 left, 137 right. There was one person who has to determine the scale, tilt the scale, and that person opted to sit with the MPP group, which has become the majority. Right. Now, in the past, it has also so happened in 2000, 2001 to 2004 Parliament. It was that close. There were, I think, 2 or 3 independent members who joined the MPP group. Had a little, I think about, at that time the numbers were 200, and they had a little over 100 or so, if I recall correctly. And then some independents joined them, CPP joined them to form the majority. In 2009, yes, a similar thing happened. The NDC group had a slim advantage, but then the PNC and the CPP had one, but she said she will be
neutral. She wanted to sit in the middle.
Right. And some independents, some who were even known or thought to be NPP people, opted to join the NDC group. Right. But I, myself, Honorable Shaba and Honorable Nanayao opted to join the minority. So that's how our arrangements are. But when it comes to the business of Parliament, we have been very cooperative. It has been our practice. That is why if you look at the shape of Parliament, it is the horseshoe to encourage cooperation, not opposition. And so it has been the practice of Parliament to discuss our business together. It is not a practice for the majority to walk over the minority. It has always been the case that even if there's one minority, you allow him or her to have his voice.
Is that largely due to the leadership styles of the speakers that we've had? And can we link this continuing cooperativeness to Honorable Abambabin's leadership style, and how has it influenced, for example, first-timers in the House who are still learning from veterans like himself and the majority leader?
No, I think it is the style of the leadership of Parliament.
Not necessarily a person.
Right. The leadership. It has been the practice. Even at our committee levels, the chairman of the committee always discusses with the ranking member. The ranking member may have an issue, he will raise it with the chairman, they will call back, discuss. If we can't agree, that's the only time we vote. So if you look at the proceedings of Parliament, the number of times we vote on issues by the ballot is a lot less, in fact less than 5%. All the other decisions are taken by voice vote.
You are chairman of the vetting committee,
yes.
And recently we've had appointments made to ministries and their deputies as well. Is it very challenging trying to strike that balance between a nominee and his competence for the job when the nomination has come from your boss, who is the leader of the executive, the president of the republic?
Right. Our rules are that competence is determined by the appointing the president, the executive. Our duty as Parliament is to check whether the person qualifies.
So competence is with the president, qualification is with the vetting committee.
That's right. Unless the person, for some reason, the person qualifies under the Constitution, the person has not done anything which, if it were known, it would have disqualified him from being a member of Parliament. Largely, that is our responsibility, what we're supposed to do. We ask questions to give the person the opportunity to demonstrate to the Ghanaian people that this person has a vision, or he is bought into the president's vision, or he has an agenda that will enable him perform to achieve the president's vision. But our job is not to determine whether the person is competent or not. Our job is to ensure the person is qualified to be a minister. And the qualification to be a minister is a qualification to be an MP.
We've watched vetting sittings, and sometimes from lay people's perspectives, we've heard responses from people when they are put to test, like you're saying, to show or to say to Ghanaians how they think they can accelerate the president's vision. And some of us have sat back and wondered, perhaps they don't have the qualification or even the vision, as you've said, to drive the agenda, and yet they passed. So then we ask, can you say no to the president's nominee?
If the person doesn't qualify, we will say no. But
and the public have sometimes come out and said, we think, and these are speculations across media circles, so traditional media, social media, and people's names have been mentioned, which we will not want to mention at this table, but then they've gone ahead to get the nod, and people wonder how do they slip through the cracks, if I'm allowed to put it that way.
It is because people are using their concept of competence rather than our responsibility to ensure qualification. Qualification to be a minister is qualification to be an MP. People assume that, and that's very, very, I should say, the arrogance of those of us who have gone to school, gone to university. We think that if a person cannot speak English like us, then he's probably not competent. If we expect that the person cannot articulate a particular view the way we know it, then the person is particularly, may not be competent. That is people's views, they're entitled to it, but our job as Parliament is to check, is this person qualified to be a minister? Has he done anything, or if we had known something we call moral turpitude, if we had known, we would not have qualified him as to be an MP. Has he done, has he been in public office before? Are there any adverse findings against him? Those are the things we look out for. As for your understanding or your appreciation of his or her competence, you're entitled to hold a view, but the person who has the decision to make as to who I will appoint to assist me is the president. That is the person the Constitution gave the power to. So long as the person qualifies, we leave the rest, the president, to deal with the rest.
The issue of his competence should rest with the president. Yeah. So if there's any fallout from his nomination and subsequent approval, if you deem him qualified, then the finger should point back at the president and not the vetting committee, because you only assessed his qualification and not his competence, right?
But you see, it is very difficult to mark anybody's competence from answers he gives at in the 1 or 2 hours we do with the person. We tell the person's competence on the job.
Okay.
And so the people who thought would not perform, they are doing a lot better than people assumed. And do a lot better than those who spoke fluent English.
That would be great. Honorable, under what circumstances can a speaker ask a member to walk out of Parliament? I'm sure you know where I'm going with this.
Probably. Probably. The rules as to how a member conducts him or herself in the House is contained in our standing orders. So, at any point that a member is seen to have flouted some of the rules would require that the person be asked to leave the chamber.
Give us a few examples.
If, for example, the person is disrupting proceedings, you warn him or her and it continues, you can ask him or her. If the person is in contempt and you ask him to apologize, him or her to apologize, and he refuses to apologize, you can ask him to leave the chamber. Is
that what happened to the Tamarin of MP?
What happened to him, Adam, if I recall correctly, was that I think he was engaged in a conduct which, in my view, as the one presiding officer, disrupting proceedings. On a number of times I tried to draw his attention, but he continued, he persisted. That's when I asked that he leave the chamber.
And so in such instances, how are the issues handled out of the chamber? Because I'm struggling to remember if there was something that happened in the chamber that was a follow-up to you asking him to leave.
No, nothing happens.
What would happen behind the scenes after a walkout like that in an instance like this?
Nothing happens. It is a punishment granted there. You serve the punishment, that's all.
And you just move on
yes.
to other things. Okay, let's look at the Constitution. There are some who have felt that we've come this number of years in the Fourth Republic, and the Constitution, when it was written, does not serve the purpose for us now, and portions of it need to be changed. And Parliament would be the ones to sit on that matter to think through the review process again. Indeed, the process started some 11 years ago, and a report was submitted. What do you think should be the way forward? Do you think the Constitution needs to be reviewed, and which aspects of it would you say the Ghanaian people should decide to hold on to or let go of?
First thing is that I think the constitutional review as a whole, for me, is not necessary. Many parts of the Constitution are working. There was a committee, Constitutional Review Committee, that did reviewed, recommended changes in a few areas. It was not practicable to implement them because, you see, too many people in the academia have propounded theories which in practice are different from what is in the books. I studied some political science, but what happens at Bekwa has nothing to do with any of the principles I studied, beyond being elected by the ballot box. What goes into even the election is totally different from the things, the theories we study in the lecture theaters. Politics is a social science. It's a human behavior. How people will behave often is determined by the environment, you know. Now, which part of the Constitution are we complaining about? Ghanaians wish that they elect their MMDCs. I support that fully. Indeed, at the Constitutional Review Committee, myself, Honorable E.T. Mensah, represented Parliament. And we propounded that theory very strongly, that we believe that MMDCs be elected. We believe that the current hybrid system must be changed. We either go all the presidential or all parliamentary, because it makes Parliament weak. But we have also learned lessons over the years. There are certain things that, because we have not had that experience before, we thought, oh, if we change to this way or that way, it'd be helpful. But in our recent experience, we ourselves have, what we propounded may not have been helpful as we're trying to amend our standing orders. And there were some proposals. Share the leadership of the committees according to the standings, how many seats you have, and so. We added very strongly, but I took a very strong position that, knowing us, our parties outside would not permit members of Parliament who are leaders to do the work as MPs. I had strong opposition from the minority chief whip then. But coming from what happened in this Parliament, he came back to say, my brother, you were right. The kind of pressure that was brought to bear on them by their parties. And they said, you also had the same. We had similar incidents in 2013. The party put pressure on members of Parliament to take a certain position when we in Parliament didn't believe so. You know, so sometimes we're influenced by what other people do without considering the culture of our politics, our behavior. So for me, why did the last attempt to amend the Constitution to introduce election of MMDCs fail? In Parliament, we agreed in full. All parties agreed that this is necessary. As I've said, myself and Honorable Timmins, I represented Parliament at the Constitutional Review. We fully agreed. Why did the minority withdrew? Why did they withdraw from it? Because then people from outside Parliament came with under different pressure. The political party has decided that we will not support this. You are our representatives in Parliament. So we should weigh the kinds of things we try to introduce into our politics without considering the culture. We are still very much partisan. Very much partisan.
And indeed, in our partisanness, we elect members into Parliament.
Yes.
But the process of election, which is seen widely as one of our biggest credits as a country, is the fact that every 4 years, like clockwork, we go, and even in the midst of all the issues and the challenges and the calls for peace and calm and to do this the right way, there's always the debate that comes up about electing someone to head the Electoral Commission, and the fact that any party that comes into power appears to have some kind of relationship with the EC chair, and so it makes them appear not objective to the other party. Do you think it's time we also look at that provision of appointing the Electoral Commission chairperson?
Why do we say it's not appear to be? We are taken in by our partisan views rather than the conduct or the work. Evaluate me on my work, not because I was appointed by MPP or I was appointed by DC.
So there's
a lot of the criticisms we levy against the election, we cannot prove them. We pick on rumors. Sometimes we deliberately create lies.
So you're saying we couldn't prove the perceptions around, for example, Madame Charlotte Osei, and we can't prove perceptions around Madame Charlotte.
Charlotte Osei's issue was not about her work as Electoral Commission. It was administrative. It was largely between the members of the commission itself. But her work as a commission, I'm not aware that anybody has raised any issues with her. In the current situation, the attack is on the commission's work. And I'm yet to see any credible evidence to support any of the allegations made against her. We have taken it to even the Supreme Court, accusing them of bias without any evidence. But that is partisanship to the extreme. Needless. So we should not use that as a basis for. I would have originally thought that every one of those constitutional bodies who are appointed by the president with the concurrence of the Council of State, Parliament should have a say in it.
Including members of the National House of Chiefs?
National House of Chiefs is not one of the political bodies.
Yes,
so
I'm just throwing that in there because it's also one of the areas that the president makes appointments.
No, the National House of Chiefs is represented at the Council of State, right? But I used to think that when the president has nominated a person, the Council of State has considered him or her, and
they should come back to Parliament.
But I've changed my mind in view of certain developments, because we can be needlessly intransigent, partisan basis. This person is not from my party, so I'll oppose him or her, irrespective of. That person belongs to, he's a friend of this man, so irrespective of his or her competence. Because of that, I have formed a different opinion about the use of Parliament as a body to also another layer of approval. I've changed my mind about that.
Now that you're much closer to the fire than perhaps you were before, second deputy, first deputy, getting closer, do you have more hope that the system that we're all aspiring to see will actually materialize? Does your position put you on top of the baobab tree somewhere where you're looking further and you're seeing a brighter prospect out there?
Prospect in terms
for Parliament.
Parliament, I think that the system we have carved out for ourselves is working. The system of negotiation, a system of tolerance, a system of openness. There's nothing, no decision that is taken in Parliament that both sides are not represented. At the board meeting, there's a business of the day. Everything is decided by both sides of the House. Every morning there's a meeting of the Speaker and the leaders of the House before we go to the chamber. What is the business of the day? If one side or the other have an issue, we'll discuss it at the pre-sitting meeting. If we think that on this matter we cannot reach consensus and it has to be put through the vote at the ballot, we discuss that and say, okay, this part of the matter will go by consensus or voice vote. This one we will not. But when it comes to the nation, generally, I think that we have been looking at the wrong side as a people. The real challenge we have is ourselves, our integrity. We are dishonest as a people. We should admit it and work at it. We will keep changing. If the level of dishonesty of us, individuals, Ghanaians, nothing will change.
So what would you say then to those who are watching? And we've received quite a few messages. Please ask the Honorable Joe about those unarmed citizens who were shot by the military. What has he done as a speaker or MP to seek justice for them? I don't know specifically where. And then he's asking, why did the president give out the presidential jet and now going about renting a luxurious jet? I'm not sure if he's the right person to answer that question, but I'll see if he can. Jerry Afeku from Keta, and other comment here that said, in fact, Honorable Joe Osei-Usu is an astute humanitarian figure whose developmental project deliveries in his municipality outplays that of his compatriots in Parliament. Such a calm person but positive in action is among them who are worthy of emulation in our Ghanaian society. Honorable Joe Moniyo with 2 fingers up for you. Mena Hunter of Adanse South. So as we wrap up, if you can chip in or comment on some of these thoughts, I would appreciate it. But people are looking at you and they are thinking, here is a man who started as a track mate, and he's risen up to be a lawyer, he's risen up to be an MP, CEO, astute businessman, humanitarian, and he's now first deputy speaker of Parliament. What should your story say to people who are watching you, who want to attain the heights that you have, but who also struggle from missed opportunities, lack of opportunities, and what have you?
Well, I should say that first, set your goal and keep your eye on it. Never take your eye off the ball. If you come to my constituency, now they come back and say, now, Chief, we understand you. When I had competition, an independent member contesting, this person is doing this, I said, please, ignore them. Let's go, focus, let's stay focused. At the end of the election, they come back, now we understand you. Wherever you are, you try to understand yourself. What is my strength? What do I want to do? What is my weakness? How can I work on it to improve my weakness? But whatever you choose to do in life, never take your eyes off the ball. When I was in secondary school, in fact from primary school, every day I went to stand by the court building. I knew I would be a lawyer.
They are now Pemanso, Honorable. They are now Pemanso.
No, I was raised in Ahivie, where every Sunday there was arbitration.
Okay.
I was.
So you just wanted to be a cratchy arbiter.
Should I say, we were then like bailiffs. You take the witnesses, go and hire them when you are needed, you brought them. But in any free time, I went and stood by the court to listen to lawyers. I told myself I'll be a lawyer. In 1969.
Today we are celebrating teachers. Who would you want to mention quickly, because we
my English teacher, Mr. Ade. I thought he had died, not knowing he was alive. So just last month, our group heard about him. We went to celebrate him. Mr. C.K. Ade. He's actually the source of my name, Joe Rice. He used to call me the wise man of the class.
Honorable.
He is one person I'll live for every day. One of my primary school teachers is still alive. Two of them, Mr. Dabo and Mr. Takra. I celebrate you. I wish them a good day. And can I say happy birthday to one of my classmates, Baba Otin Jesse.
Okay.
She was a minister and a former MP.
Yes.
She's my classmate. We were called to the bar some 31 years ago, not 20.
That's a long time.
That's a long time ago. So today is her birthday, so Barbara, happy birthday to you.
Thank you for honoring the invitation, Honorable Joseph Osei-Owusu. We say Osei-Owusu, Joe Wise, and we are happy to have drunk from your well of wisdom this morning, and we wish you well in your dealings with the people of the Kwai and in your dealings as First Deputy Speaker of Parliament as you serve God and country.
Thank you very much. I haven't been here for a very long time, so I'm very glad to have the opportunity to be in your studios again.
We're happy to have you. So we've been speaking to the Honorable Joseph Osei-Owusu, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament. He shared a part of his story with us, humble beginnings, being a mate on a truck and interacting with people, which gave him the exposure that he needed to build relations that would later come to play in his favor as he massed numbers who showed up at the polls to vote for him to represent them in Parliament, the people of the Kwai. Now he's First Deputy Speaker, and he's shared his thoughts on some of the governance processes with us here as well, and we are grateful for his time. There's so much to catch up on with Val on the Yellow Couch. We are having a deep conversation on what reproductive health education should mean for boys. A lot of the focus has been on girls, but what should the focus be when it comes to boys? Of course, we'll also be interacting with gospel musician Koda, so you don't want to miss that part of the conversation as well. Remember that we've asked you 2 questions about lifestyle TV's telenovela which premiered yesterday. Today, what's the name of the chat show host, and what's the name of Mona's cockerel that competed in that fight that she lost? If you have those answers, send them to our WhatsApp number 055-556134, and of course our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube, and we will select a winner and you can pass by tomorrow for your prize. For now, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back to get to the Yellow Couch for those other discussions. We'll be back.
Live from DC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show.
From 1921 to 2021, the journey to our centenary has been a
that we left them off.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
so I think we really have to look at that. When do we start educating the girls about reproductive health?
In our cultural setting, it is when the first signs of puberty, when your breast starts to develop.
You know, I think that is why we all miss it, because reproductive health is about, it goes way beyond that. You know, it's about assertiveness. It's about being a man. What does being a man mean? Is it protecting a girl or gang raping a girl? And that goes way before puberty. If you have a boy, a sister, and a brother, is the boy supposed to be protective of the sister? That is where it starts. So it starts from our value system, our values. You know, the comprehensive sexuality education, the initial part is about value clarification. What does it mean to be a man in our society? And how are we bringing up our boys in our society? How are we as a community of men behaving? You know, so it goes way before puberty. Puberty is far. We have really lost a lot of grounds in terms of educating the boys. You know, now that we are in COVID, I like examples that we can all identify with. COVID, if I have COVID and you do not have COVID, do you have a responsibility or not? Exactly. Yeah. So the boys and girls both have a responsibility for the society to be wholesome, for everybody to stay in. You cannot educate half the people on COVID prevention and keep other half in ignorance and expect us to make any headway. So we cannot also keep the boys ignorant on reproductive health education and just educate the girls and expect to make headway. It doesn't work that way.
I've been educated like right now.
It is really a collective, you know, we are so interdependent that if a part is ignorant and a part is acquiring knowledge, it doesn't help anybody. We all either share the ignorance and the knowledge together. So the best thing for us to do is for all of us to be educated. Because if you are not educated and you act in ignorance, it doesn't help anybody. You know. So that is what I would say, that it has to be alongside. It has to be, that's why God made us male and female, complementary. You know, you breathe in, you breathe out, you take one leg forward, another leg forward, and then there's harmony.
Right. Doug, going forward, how should we engage boys into the conversation?
You know, we have a community of men. I talk about a community of men. And our community of men actually decide everything that we do. Because from the president to the chief executive, to the politician, to the traditional authority, to the religious, 99.something% of them are men. Yeah. So the community of men, are they a community of people who, I'm a Catholic, so I use some of the Catholic these things too. Are they a community of men who are either omission or commission? Are they commissioned to train up the boys, or they are having the sin of omission and sitting back for the boys to train themselves? You know, so we have to decide exactly what we want. But if the men, the community of men, do not break that barrier, it is near impossible for the women to make headway.
Okay, so how do the community of men, how do they break that barrier? What are some of the suggestions to break that barrier?
Some of the suggestions to break that barrier is, for instance, we have to have the stakeholder segmentation. Right. So if we have the traditional community of men, where in some of the communities teenage pregnancy and child marriage is looked on, who breaks that? It's the community of men, traditional community of men in those communities who have to deal with that. Then our traditional religious authorities, how are they educating our children using the pulpits? Because most of our pastors and our priests, my Catholic Church, all the priests are men. Most of the priests are men, and we listen to them. So how are they using the pulpit to educate us? And then our community of men, of judges, how are they treating their cohorts who perpetrate such things against the girls? So it's a community of men that really need to support the women if we have to make any headway. But if the community of men stand by, somebody said that, do you know how bad thrives? Bad thrives when good men do nothing. So when a community of good men stand by for some bad men to perpetrate it,
the bad is gonna.
The bad
is gonna.
Yes.
Right. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I really agree with what she's saying, because a lot of the times we wait until the people are growing, just like you were saying that even with the girls, the education starts when signs of puberty start to show. But why don't we rather open up to the girls before they even get to that stage? They know where they are going to. They know what will happen to them, and they know what step to take. And so if we wait for the boys to grow as men before we try to teach them what to do, they would have grown already. Their bones are already hard. We can't change anything about it. And so we should start the education when they're already boys, and then they can even respect the girls. So growing up, they all have that sense of responsibility and that partnership to even care for one another, and not to say that because this person has the power to take a decision, I should override over the woman's choice or the girl's choice. And so it's important that the education starts right from the basis, so that we know that this is what we are training the boys to become, this is what we are training the girls to also become. And also even talking about that, most of the times when we are to even educate the girls, we separate them from the boys, and then we teach them separate things. So when they come together, they'll be confused a little before they can even agree with one another. But why don't we join them together, so that whilst you're having the discussions, all the things in their mind, they'll tell you if there's the need for any guidance or there's the need for any mentorship, then you have the avenue or the platform to do that. But you don't wait for the people to get to that stage when they have formed their opinions before you start to change. It becomes very difficult, and that is what has brought us
where we are. Right. I'm going to go to Doc. But I'll come back to you. Start telling me, getting your questions ready, your answers ready. Are there any activities that Curious Minds has embarked on? Because we have it, I'm going to come back to you, Doc. Do you think our traditional setting, we've spoken about the table of men, if I'll call it that, we need to break those barriers. But somebody sent in a message earlier that says that we got it wrong from the beginning, because most of the times when women, early on, when all these young men and women grow up and then there's marriage and there's issues, even when there are issues with fertility, everybody says it is the woman's fault. It is in these times that we are realizing that the men have certain faults too, but if they had gone with the women to the hospitals and all of that. So I'd like you to shed some light on that, because that's coming to the fore now, about men going actually to the hospitals to check about fertility and all of that. That's a question that someone raised.
It's all about ignorance, and that is why we're actually commissioned to seek knowledge and apply. That is our whole work on earth, to seek knowledge and apply knowledge, so that we get rid of ignorance. Because it's the woman who gets pregnant. She carries the baby, and so you think that is a fault. But then the man has a role, and then at times both of them are okay, and they can just not even make babies, which is also very possible. It happens.
Right.
I think that our men are supposed to know that, for me, men are supposed to do three things. They are supposed to protect, they are supposed to provide, and they are supposed to profess. You understand? And so if we train the men to protect, because they say that the women are weaker vessels. So that is why they have to protect them and provide for them. And provision is not just about providing material things, but other emotional support, psychological support, mental engagement, and then professing. Like, God professed Jesus, that this is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. And it's God who professed Jesus. So the man is supposed to do same. And if we understand, and the men would actually pick up their roles and do same, the women will be empowered. And when women are empowered, you know what happens? They take care of their children, and so they train them well. A lot of the children who are recalcitrant are brought up by women who are not empowered. That is what we are doing to our society. And the men have the power, the position, and the authority to make it happen. So it is right at the doorsteps of the men. And they should not commit, especially the good men, should not commit the sin of omission. Because for me, I think that the sin of omission carries a very big punishment.
Doc, you're really taking us into the Bible this morning. Okay, so what are some of the activities that Curious Minds has embarked on to sensitize everybody? Because this is, I mean, a drive that the whole nation needs to embark on, so we change our mindset. Is there something that Curious Minds is doing to?
Definitely, and there's a lot that Curious Minds is doing. So even let me start from our regular radio. We have regular radio programs that we run on Saturdays, and it's on a local radio station, and then also on Unique, GBC's Unique FM. And so we educate people on reproductive health and even the essence of involving the males in it. So we use Obonu FM to tell the Ga community why there's the need for that, so that they'll be sensitized, because a lot of them, because we find ourselves in a patriarchal society, it is about the men. If it has to do with the woman, it is the woman's business. And so this is some of the these are some of the platforms we use. And then also using social media a lot. So when it comes to Twitter storms, and when it comes to Twitter chats, involving other people, and then also partnering with other institutions, like-minded institutions, so that we can reach out to the people using community outreaches. And so a lot of, even just this weekend, we had a lot of interactions with girls, educating them on how to keep themselves safe and all of that. We have a lot of programs also in the Tamale region, Tamale community. We have also in Central region. That's why we have our chapter clubs as Curious Minds. We have a lot of activities interacting with, yes, everyday poetry soiree, so that we can involve the males also talking about things about women. Because if the other males find their counterparts doing so, they'll also find the need and be drawn to the actions, or be drawn to the fact that they must be part of the seeking the welfare or the reproductive health of their partners as females or as women. And so these are some of the things we are doing. There are lots, we can't mention all of them on this platform. So that's basically what I can say.
Right. Doc, nationally, are we looking at something, a move or a drive, an initiative that's been undertaken to sort of change this mindset?
Well, if we really want sustainable development goal, then it has to be. You know, Curious Minds is doing a lot, but they are doing it bits and pieces. So it's like treating COVID in Ashanti region and not doing it in Accra. You know, that's basically what is happening. So you'll be doing hard work but not smart work. So you're doing a lot of activity, but then the efficiency and the outcome, it's not the best. You get it? It's like treating polio, giving polio immunization in my village and forgetting about the next village. You'll be spending money, but they would move across, and then polio. So it has to be a national. We all have to understand. You see, you cannot. There's a rule they called 1 problem, 10 solutions. You cannot have 10 problems and 1 solution. No. It doesn't work. But that's basically what we do most of the time. So we have 1 problem and then 10 solutions. So we hit it from every angle. Every angle we throw light on it, and then in no time we would deal with it. Otherwise, Curious Minds would be doing a lot of hard work, but not smart as a nation.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll have another conversation centered on reproductive health next week, Tuesday again. Thank you very much, Dr. Letitia Adelaide Appiah. She's the Executive Director for the National Population Council, and Mavis Na Kole Aye, a member of Curious Minds. Today is World Teachers Day. Who was your favorite teacher?
I think it was in primary school. I think Mrs. Atiomo. You know, I'm left-handed, so I write with my left, and then I went to school and they beat me that I should stop. And so I told my mom, you know something, I think I'm done with school. And then my mom took me back and said, no, just let her write with her left. If she wants to be left-handed, that's how she is. And so that's it. And I have 2 girls who are left-handed.
Oh, wow.
And I must say that I really must congratulate and applaud these young ladies. Curious Minds. Because when I was their age, I was doing nothing close to what they're doing.
Yes, I applaud you too. When I was your age, absolutely nothing like what you're doing. We don't have a lot of time, but who was your favorite teacher?
Teacher Vida.
What subject?
Crèche. She was teaching me all the subjects, you know, at the nursery stage.
You still remember her?
Yes, I do, because she was coming to my house to bat for me and take me to
school.
So I can't forget about her.
Yeah. Teacher Vida, you say. Yes, okay. Teacher Vida, if you're watching us, well, this is from Mavis. Thank you, guys. We are still live on GTV Breakfast, and we are warming this side. We're going to have some music with the legendary Koda. Here's a break.
Broken hearted, come to Jesus now. Now see, please come. Come ye thirsty
Oh no, Koda, you are not going to get away with just that.
It's kind of work for me.
No, it's not. It won't work for us here. You know, he went to music school to study and to learn how to play the guitar at age 10. You have to play something again.
Okay, so picking from where we were. He is the bread of life, the living water. Come to Jesus now. He's the bread of life, the living water. Come to Jesus now. Messiah, and she didn't sing.
You know what? The reason why I didn't sing was that, apart from the fact that I can't sing to save my life, I didn't want to take you. I can't sing to. I didn't want to take your shine, you know. And today is all about Koda in the yellow couch. Welcome to the yellow couch, Koda.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You know, before I mean, we came on, I had this long intro I wanted to do about you, but seeing you like, why are you playing this? I don't even want to do any of that anymore. Who inspires you when it comes to music? Your biggest inspiration?
Woo. I wouldn't say it's one person.
Okay.
I would say it's a lot of people, but I would still mention the name of one particular person, Danny Nete. He's no longer with us, but Danny noticed I wanted to be a clone of his. You get a thing from size and everything.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good one.
So And normally people would love that, but he didn't like it.
Why?
No, he felt there was something unique I had, and why be a clone of his? And so he noticed when I go for programs, I was singing his songs, and I expected a pat on the back that, you boy, you're doing it. He said, Koda, why don't you sing your own songs? I said, Danny, people don't know it, and yours is already working. He said, then what's the point? And then you have this strict way that, he just puts things bluntly. Said you're a lazy boy, you don't work on your vocals, always hiding behind the guitar, comfortable with what you can do already, step out there, and then it was hard on me. I helped.
Okay, so Danny Nete.
Yes.
Right. May his soul rest in peace. Another person, you said quite a number of people.
Pastor Joe Bisham. Pastor Joe Bisham.
Were you trying to be a clone too?
I think the thing I picked up from Sofu Joe is his spirituality.
Right.
Yes, I love Sofu for the fact that he's an instrumentalist too. He was like, at a point in time, Sofu was one of the top drummers in the Western region. You get the thing, but Sofu was different. He wasn't a typical instrumentalist that would. Should I spill the beans?
Yes, please do.
Normally, say, hello guys. I mean, we have the habit of leaving the church when there's preaching going on, and we reappear and that kind of, but something about Sofu Joe was so noble and so different, and I wanted to get close to him, and I think some of him rubbed on me, the spiritual side of things, taking things dead serious.
Okay guys, so this is not a spoiler, and this is, I'm not being a whistleblower, but you know that when Koda is on air and he's singing, his manager is praying for him.
Yes.
That's a little an inside joke. We'll talk about that just before the show ends though. Now Koda, having you in here, if you weren't a musician, that's all what your life is about. What if you didn't do music? What would you have done?
Initially, I was into acting.
Okay.
I'll tell you how it happened. So, I'm naturally humorous, kakre bisa.
I can tell. I got it in there earlier.
And so, that's what I was into. But I think when in JSS, one of our teachers, and God bless him, in his own unique way, Mr. Afo, that's his name. Mr. Afo said,
today is World Teacher Day.
I know, right? Mr. Afo had his unique way of loving me. It's unique because Mr. Afo was like, you are all over the place too much. Baby, I don't like it. You're either acting or you're with the school choir. Tomorrow, make a decision, let me know. So that was I had to choose. That was JSS 2. So I chose music.
Because you chose music, we're going to play a video of yours. While the video is playing, you need to think about your answer, because you usually record live. Your music is recorded live.
Yes, please.
But then on the new album, which you're going to talk about after this break, on your video, we find you actually going on location and proper recording. Don't answer yet. I said you should think about it. Guys, we're going to take a break on Koda's video.
and then you get costume, and the video director goes like, this doesn't work for your skin tone, I don't like this, I don't like that. The color grading guy says, I don't like this scene. It was a different experience, but I learned a lot from it.
And did you like it?
Oh, please, I did. I have to be honest that it's a different experience. It's good. It is good.
Tell us about KTK. That's the latest album.
Yes, please. KTK is a 13th. Please, you're going to say
why
something.
KTK? I want to know why KTK.
Okay, so KTK means train. And the album you get to listen to, there are several genres on it. There's reggae, there's salsa sang infanti actually, and then there are worship songs I did with Pastor Joe Beecham, several styles of it. And so it takes you through a journey of genres.
Yeah.
It takes you through a journey of themes. There are some of them that make you excited. Some of them will make you a little bit more reflective. Some of them may make you cry, like a song like Mama Minsedo. It's more of a plea to God. You are getting anything. And so that is life. Life is not always juicy. And when does the train come in? My childhood, we used to travel from Takoradi to Kumasi with a train, the original trains. And the journey was always eventful. Either we chalked for some Obasi, there's one Obasi on the road, and then Charlie, the train will stop, and then we need to wait for a coach to come from Takoradi to come and pick us. So life is full of events, but the joyful thing is that eventually, no matter how slow the train is, you get to the destination, and that's life.
That's sharp too.
Thank you.
Amen is on KTK.
Yes, it's the last born.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's have you do Amen. Before we wrap up, get your skills ready because you'll be doing the Salsa Infante song.
Oh!
But I have you in here. Why don't I make the most of you are like
oh, this is well.
So please, let's do Amen.
Okay, you want to do it from here?
Yes. No, let's have you start it, set our viewers in a good mood, and then we'll watch the video.
Amen.
Yes, amen.
So I'm a child of blessing beyond all measure. I have authority over the enemy. Abba Father, my Jehovah, His blessing over me is here and amen. Then I say, you are the head and not the tail. Amen, amen. Oh, I just remember she can't sing.
Oh, come on. So because you want to put me on the spot, we're going to play Asida. We're going to play Asida. So Asida is coming on now.
Hey, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, the enemy would have consumed us. I thank God for His grace and mercy that has preserved us. And so our song is simple. It's a sinner. What shall I render to you, my King, for all you've done for me? Yes. Your mercy and your kindness, oh Lord, I'm faithful. I said no. What shall I render to you, my King, for all you've done for me? Your mercy and your kindness.
Ivorian thingy from the video that just aired. Well, could you tell us about it? Why do we get the Ivorian feel from the song?
So I actually reached out to a friend of mine who's also a producer. We get to work on a lot of stuff together. When he needs Ghanaian flavors, he calls on me. So I called him and I said, actually, I need some Ivorian stuff. And he said, does it make Niwe? I said, you love Niwe stuff? I said, wait. And then so he sent it back to me, and then he had it all colored up. I just added guitar, and then that was it.
That's it.
But majority of it is from my Ivorian friend. He's called Moise.
Moise.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out Moise.
Moise.
Koda, we have to end with you doing the salsa song that is in Fantino. Before you do that, I know my producer is going to have my head, but you are seasoned in this industry. What do you think we can do to make our industry better, music-wise?
What can we do
to make it better?
Okay, so I'll start by saying that I don't want to get myself into trouble. But okay, let me put it this way. I think good content is out there. Oh God, I'm going to. Okay, so here goes trouble. Can I plead with our media houses to pay more attention to the others who don't have the big names, because some of them have really good content, but they don't have the name yet, so it's difficult to hear them out. But I've heard songs that have been written by people that are not popular that will beat any Koda song I've written, but just that they haven't gotten the platform yet. But I mean, if they're still playing, I'm not saying stop playing our music, Mr. Owen, but I'm only saying that can we pay attention to the unknown voices too, because some of them have great content. They don't have the money for they don't have the money for the God bless yous and stuff like that, but they're good.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Great words from Koda. Great words. So let's have you do the song in salsa. Or you didn't practice your salsa moves in this one? And I remember watching. You salsa, he sings, I watch. Since you are already sat here, salsa for us, my darling. Okay, we're hearing it.
Odzenyo frufubi ashema fuma, Natsima poni achema. Odzenyo frufubi ashema fuma, Mekano da funye beto. Jesus, mother for Jesus, mommy Jesus. You are my one and only Jesus.
Oh, I need to capture this.
This Jesus. Mama Jesus. You are my one and only love.
Fancy salsa. I just captured that. I'm going to post it.
I think I got the key wrong, but that's about
no, that's fine.
You got the song right. You got the song right, man.
And that's what's important.
That's what's important.
And I like the fact that you challenge Christians to think beyond the norm. When I heard, this was years ago, when I heard things are not the same anymore, and it brought so many things home, because so many values have changed, even from as short time as I have been on earth. So it resonates with people so much, and I just want to appreciate your music. My brother loves you. He's called Lloyd Saki. If I don't mention Lloyd to Koda today, I won't go home. Lloyd is in teaching and he's a teacher. Happy Teacher's Day to you, Lloyd. I love you. Your man is here. So I've mentioned your name to him. He loves you. He's a guitarist as well.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Lloyd, nice to meet you.
I'm so scoring points with this one.
I know.
Dr. Yasmin Kudiabo says she loves your music.
Thank you, Doc.
We have
final
so many
words before we wrap up.
Yes, we have a winner. We have a winner. This is.
Did I win something?
You actually get to go home with a lifestyle T-shirt. Yesterday, did you wear 2 hats?
Yesterday on Crap.
You see, let me tell you.
You're watching tonight.
No. He was part of the people who got caught in the WhatsApp Facebook
I know.
How did you survive the chaos sponsored by Facebook?
No, you know, I thought it was my phone.
Everybody.
I told myself that telling my wife
and my data has run out. I just bought this data.
We restarted.
And it wasn't them. Oh, sorry.
So we got some winners from the lifestyle 2 Hearts promotion. This is Henrietta from Suwutum. Says the name of the lady is Rita and the name of Mona's fowl is Poseidon.
Oh.
Poseidon correctly spelled. So thank you. That's one winner.
Poseidon.
Any more winners? I think I have one.
One. She got one part of the question.
No, it's
correct.
right. Rita and Poseidon is correct.
Yes. So it's Rita and it's Poseidon.
Yeah, she got that right. So
it's not Akuko. Mr. Solo from Medina. That's why you wrote some tree. I had to come and I cried girl from James. I'm reading tree this morning. What is this?
I don't have any more winners, so we'll announce more tomorrow morning.
I think we will.
Okay. All right. Koda, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure having you.
I've been spying at you guys on TV small like that, and I've gotten to meet you.
I saw that you keep retweeting us on Twitter. Shout outs to you.
Shout outs to mommy.
Yeah, I'm the greatest fan.
Shout out to mommy.
Careful, you know everybody.
No, I know.
I mean him going back.
Right.
Instrumentalist.
Thank you, Koda. We are wishing you success on your album, and we hope to have you in here again.
Thank you very much.
With your live band, one nice Friday.
Definitely.
Oh, we have a whole place. We can set you guys up here nicely.
And you have dancers, singers, dancers.
Singers.
Even me, who have been told by reliable sources yesterday that I dance like a white girl, I will just donate myself to dancing.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on breakfast this fine morning. We hope you join us again tomorrow, and we'll be here to do it all over again. Koda takes it away for us beautifully, and that's my favorite song playing in the background. So thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow.
All right, happy Teachers Day.
Things are not the same anymore. Christos me and Sempi. Things are not the same anymore. Christos me and Sempi say things are not the same anymore. Christos me and Sempi. Things are the same anymore. Christos me and Sempi.